Hello, good morning, and welcome to the SSF Romcast. My name is Jessica Haynes. I am here to chat to you about all of the fantasy and sci-fi romance, and I'm joined by my awesome super co-host,
Emma Jackson. Hello.
Hello.
I mean, we will eventually get to all of the fantasy romance.
All of the
It feels
fantasies.
all of it. Yeah.
Yeah, all of it is in there, but we
Yeah.
don't have 7 hours to discuss them all.
I mean, yeah, this is the last in a season
It
as well.
is a
It's
bit
sad.
sad.
I was thinking about that earlier. I was like, maybe we need to have longer seasons, but then I don't
Ooh.
know how I would cope with all of the reading
And the fitting the time in.
and the fitting the time in. This season's been tricky. We've been like
It really
squeezing in the
has.
recording here, there, and everywhere, haven't we? But don't worry, we're not going to stop.
No, we won't stop. We have managed it. We always see it's like one of them things that if you think that this isn't going to work or that's not going to work, you always manage to get there. So
Yeah.
we'll do it. But yeah, on about that sort of stuff, we are doing time travel today. It all fits in.
It's weird. Everything we're talking about is very time
It has been time.
orientated. Yeah,
Yes.
something weird in the atmosphere is going on.
It really has. The 40 odd minutes we've been speaking before the podcast has been very time related. So hopefully we've not used up all of the good stuff and we'll bring some to you now.
I'm sure it'll come up. Right. Should we get going?
Ready, steady, go.
Okay. We are doing time travel. Did we do time travel or just time? I went for time travel.
I've gone time travel because what I definitely needed today. Today has been a busy, long day. I would love to have time travel today. So time travel is what we're going for.
Okay, right. This one I found this one tricky. We talked about this last week, didn't we?
Yes.
And I think the reason I find it tricky is because where it's kind of been more accepted in mainstream, I think it's harder to know whether or not you're going to get a romance that has a happily ever after, I think, in this one.
I suppose that makes sense because normally there's a reason for them to travel back or forth and it's never really just because of a good thing.
They're usually like described as heartbreaking or something like that. And you're like, I'm not sure that's going to give me what I'm after.
No. If the jollies is what I'm after, heartbreaking is not the word that comes to mind.
It's not the word for heartwarming. I like is usually good.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But we'll see. Well, the ones that I've got are. I don't know even if they are heartwarming when I sit.
Okay. Well, it doesn't have to be heart. I mean, there's many fantasy romances I wouldn't describe as heartwarming. No, but just if you're using a heart phrase to try and sell a book, I go for heartwarming over heartbreaking.
Yeah,
I can't do weepies. I'm not great with weepies.
No, these days now, if Up comes anywhere near my TV, I have to leave because just having the kids, it's made me an emotional wreck. I can't handle emotions and sadness and
do you find you cry at books?
Yeah. I get to a point where I'm nearly there and then I have to put it down because it's like, okay, I'm too involved now. I need to just back away for 5 and then go back to it.
I think that's it, isn't it? It's the level of control. Like I will become a wreck watching very short videos that are in my when I'm scrolling or something, and like films and things. Books do make me cry, but it's that thing of you can just go
put it down for 5.
I need a break, need a piece of chocolate, and then I can go back to it.
Did you see that Lewis Capaldi video for the last song where that was making people bored?
I've avoided it because I had this thing. I sit quite often before bed. We do reading and stuff with the girls, and then I'll let them watch like a little music video. This came about because I was like, I'm not really exposing. We don't listen to radio. I'm not exposing them to like pop culture when they were younger. I thought, if they want to watch a little, a little music video, Taylor Swift one or something like that. And then they asked for one, a Bastille one, and I don't know if you've ever seen this. It was Bastille and Marshmallow, and it was the one that goes like Happier. I think that's what it's called. And I wasn't expecting it. It's the little picture is like a little girl, and she's got her golden retriever dog.
God, that's
So
ending badly already.
that's all I'm gonna say.
No.
And I'm sitting there with my girls, an absolute wreck, and they're like, "Mummy, what's wrong?" And I had a golden retriever when I was a kid as well.
Mm.
I was like, and they constantly think it's funny, little sadist. They're like, "Can we watch that one again, Mummy?" I'm like, "No, we
Let's
cannot."
make you cry, Mummy.
No,
I've not seen it, but it's the same logic as Lewis Capaldi. There
oh,
is a
is it
dog
similar?
involved in it.
Oh,
Yes,
mhm.
that's it. What we were talking about earlier with the dogs.
Yeah, you
It's
you
weird.
can't touch the dogs.
No,
Like
you
your
can't touch
dog
the dogs.
especially.
Did you say that? That sounds really weird.
No,
My dog
I'm
looks at
sorry.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I will explain.
You
My
have
dog
to
looks
explain
at
that.
me like when you go to stroke him, it looks like it's the worst thing in the world. Even though
Uh-huh.
you have come to him he's come to you to be stroked. He looks at you
Yeah.
like, okay,
It's
what are
just
you doing? Just a
what that's
hand.
like a resting fear face or
Yes,
something.
basically. It's just very strange. But he's if you want to see him, he is well. I can do a video. He's fine. There's
He's
no
a lovely dog,
problems.
very happy dog.
Yeah, I can
No,
show you
no
what he's done to my
problems.
sofa to say that he has
Mhm.
free rule of the house. It's fine.
Yes.
Anyway, do you want to go first this time? I don't remember who's first and
Okay.
who's not or who's what.
My printer ran out of toner, so I had to quickly scribble some notes. So a lot of this is
Oh,
coming
we're winging
from
it.
the brain, which is never a good thing.
All right, let's wing
So
it and see.
my first one is Once Upon a Time Travel
Ooh.
by Sariah Wilson. So I thought I'd do like this one is obviously going back in time. Well, it's not obviously, but I'm saying it.
It's
Yeah,
obvious
it's
to
obvious
you.
to me because I've
You've read it.
Yeah. So in the modern day, this heroine, Emma, nice name, she is working in like a stately home, which is kind of a museum at the moment. And she's just drawn to this room that's out of bounds. It's off limits. Something she's been dying to get into this room, and she finally finds an opportunity. One evening, they've been working late. The security guard's busy watching a football match. And
Always.
she sneaks up there and she goes in, and she's like, there's just this really weird sense of familiarity once she's in there. And there's a painting on the wall, this really hot dude. And he seems to be pointing in a direction. And she's like, oh, why is that? You know, sometimes you used to get that in old paintings. That's sort of a thing, isn't it? They
Is
used
it a
to do
thing?
like secret hand gestures that meant stuff,
Ooh.
and they would paint them like that. So she follows like to where he was pointing, and she finds there's a door that's been like wallpapered over.
Nice.
And she can't help herself.
Of course you
She
can't.
breaks into it. She goes, it's not great in a stately home. Don't do this, people. I mean, it's so tempting. Secret door, of course.
Yes.
But she goes inside. She finds this, it's like probably like a dressing room that's been blocked off. And hang on. Oh, I had a really scared moment then. I thought I hadn't pressed record, and I was like, no, I did. It's fine.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Don't worry. Brain fart moment. So she goes in, she finds this dress, and she's like, this is a cool dress. And actually, it might fit me. She's quite tall. So
Put
she
it on.
doesn't, yeah. She's like, oh, I'm going to try that on. In for a penny, in for a pound. She's breaking all the rules anyway.
You might as
She
well.
puts it on. She finds in the pocket this piece of paper, and it looks like it's in her handwriting, but she can't understand the words that are on it, and she's trying to make it out, and she says it out loud.
Of course she does.
And then she wakes up in 1816. She's still in the house, but the room's all different, the decor's all different when she goes out there, and obviously she's in this old dress, so she looks of the time. And I loved the way she reacted, because it's like a full-on day of panic and not understanding. First she thinks she's in a dream, and she like
Understandable.
she's hit her head when she went back in time. Whatever happened made her like black out. She fell down, she hit her head. She comes out of the room, and there are like these two men downstairs. One of them's the guy from the painting, and he's the guy, you know.
He's
That's
the
the guy.
guy.
He's the guy. And the other one's like his friend who's there, and they're like confused, but then they think she might be someone that they're expecting to arrive, a guest, but they don't understand why she's in the house or why she's bleeding from a head wound. Something's happened. It's all very confusing. And she starts to think, is this a dream? And they're asking her these questions, and she's like, when is all of the like pampering going to start? Because this is, you know, this is a dream. This fantasy isn't working out.
Yeah,
You're good because you're hot, but like, when are you going to start feeding me grapes and stuff?
Yeah, fanning me.
Yeah,
on the chaise.
so they like convince her to be seen to by a physician and like go to bed. They give her like the good stuff that makes a good sedative, basically knocks her out for a bit, and she thinks, I'm going to wake up and it's going to be fine. You know, the dream's going to be over, but it's not. So they've mistaken her for somebody called Emily Blythe, who Hartley, who is the hero, is expecting to arrive so he can set her up with his younger brother. Hartley has decided he never wants to get married because he had a bad experience. His fiance died. So
anyway,
he's sworn off marriage, and he needs to ensure that there's a family line to continue. And because her name's Emma, and they were like, are you Emily? And she was like, no, I'm Emma, but oh, close enough. He never met her. She's meant to be an American as well, because she is American. So the accent's right. It's a young woman that's turned up at the house. She's got a close enough name. They've kind of accepted that this is her. And she's like, she realizes, oh my God, I'm in this situation. I don't know how to get back. I need to figure it out. It sounds like it's maybe like a spell of some kind. If it was here, maybe there's a spell book somewhere in the house. Maybe there's some clues. I need to stay in this house. And also, I've seen Oliver many times. I don't want to go out there. I'm going to die. I have no money. And that was really clever, I thought, because you like had this empathy for her. And then you kind of sat back and went, but that was kind of the situation of all women at that time. They were reliant on men's kindness and being, you know, oh, you know, there's the roof over your head and here's the food and you go do these things and
look pretty and buy gloves.
Yeah. Well, if you were well off.
If you're well off, yeah.
Otherwise. Yeah. It's either that or it's drudgery, isn't it? Basically.
Yeah. Here's Jim. Have a good time.
Yeah. So he's like, he's waiting for his brother to come back. He's been traveling, and his brother's got himself into, he's set his cap at somebody who they don't want him to marry. And they're waiting for him to return, and they've like, she's so inappropriate. Everything she says sounds like it's foreign language. You know, she's like, do you even speak English? What are these words you're saying? She doesn't understand. She's like, where's the toilet? Where do I go to the toilet? What do I do? She's got a nice lady's maid who's helping her, and his aunt comes in to help as well. And you find out stuff about her later on, which is kind of tied into some of the magical bits and pieces. But it's really fun, and like, she's got one of those great inner monologues. You do get it from his perspective too, but it's first person from her and third from him. So
okay.
But you do
twisty.
see, yeah,
I like it.
I can kind of see why people do that, because like, if you're that into one of their heads, then
you don't want to delve into the other.
Yeah, not too much, but yeah, it worked. Well, people make it work.
Well, yeah, kudos to them. I struggle.
Yeah.
I jumping back and forth my brain doesn't do that.
Yeah, I know. That would be like, it's one of those ones you look through and you're like, oh, use the wrong word again. Even if I've been reading a book that's first person, then I go back to writing in third person, I find myself putting in I, and I'm like, no, my brain is broken.
You're porous. You pull it all in.
Yeah. So, and obviously, like, the chemistry is there between them. He's a bit grumpy, but he's not really, and they rub each other up the wrong way a little bit, because she's kind of like, you're expecting me just to get married, and like, I don't even know, but she can't disagree too much because she's kind of got to go along with it. Yeah, it's really fun, and there's a lot of great chemistry between them, and there's a lot of very, very swoony kisses and stuff. So it kind of like, it was like one of my other favorite subgenres wrapped up in the other one, because I love historical romance. So it was like all those little bits, you know, going to the ball and, you know, learning the decorum stuff, and but she doesn't know what she's doing, or she's just questioning why are we doing this, you know?
What's a cotillion? What we're doing?
They go for like ice cream at is it Gunter's or something was the famous place where they used to go. And she's like chocolate ice cream. And it's like, oh shit, there's no sugar in it. You know? But it's better than nothing.
Is it though? Send me back. I don't want
but then she has like this very real fear as well, because she suddenly has this moment of, oh my god, if anything actually happens to me, there's no proper hospitals. You know, there's nothing. that would be quite scary. I think
there's just one old man with a leather fold-up-y open case.
And some leeches coming at you. You know, you're like,
leeches or a saw.
And then you get into thinking about your happily ever after and the babies. You're like, that's rough. No, you're at home, lock you up in the room for like a month.
Confinement. So do you get to pick whether you have your happily ever after in the past or the future or the present?
This is something I was thinking about in terms of time travel, and I think there's always going to be an element of sacrifice, isn't there? No matter how they get their happily ever after, they have to make their peace with losing either what was their life before or their new life that they found.
Okay, so so that if you're finished, I don't want to tread on toes.
No, go for it. That segues nicely in.
It does. Okay, so mine, I'm just going to go into good but harrowing. There's harrowingness in this trilogy.
Okay.
So the first one is Catch Me by Reese Rivers, and it's called Time After Time series, and there are 3 books, and not sorry, you do need to read all 3 to get to the end, because that's where I'm at. Quickly, did you have mine are all women that go back and forth? I don't have the men that move.
Oh no, I have
You have a man?
I have 2 men.
You have 2 men.
One woman. Yeah.
See, mine are all ladies. But so in this one, we start with Eden, who has had, again, triggers for this one, lots of tragedy in her life. And we come in and she's at a very traumatic state. She lost her parents and her sister in a car accident. She got married to this chap and found out around the same time that he's really not a very nice chap, and they divorced. And when that finished, she's trying to move on with her life, became an EMT, and I think she was there working, and her partner who was with her her and her partner were attacked, and her partner was killed, and she was injured quite badly. So she's at a very traumatic state in her life, and she's trying to channel all these feelings into jiu-jitsu and fighting, and just to get herself stronger and just to channel all these energies out. And she'd also lost an aunt as well in the process of all of this, which is weird when you mention the aunt thing. So you meet her and she's at this place fighting, and her head is nowhere. She's sitting going through all these things, and she nearly kills this person she's fighting, because she is at that point. Everything has just got to there, and she's at breaking. And the dude who owns the gym pulls her aside and said, look, until this is in order, we can't have you back here. So she goes off. Her aunt who died left her a house, and she's living there. She obviously can't go back to work at the minute because she's not in the best place.
Yeah.
I think she went to see psychologist or something, but couldn't manage that either. So she's basically just going from house to gym and living in this perpetual bubble of not niceness. But this house that her aunt left her is kind of like quite old schooly, loads of stuff around the place. And I don't know what it is, just gets it in her head. She's having a mill around, goes up to the loft, attic, whichever. and finds this really massive ornate mirror. And it's a beautiful, big, epic mirror. And she's just showered from being at the gym, got her robe on. She's having a look at it. And as with a lot of these things, she ends up being pulled through the mirror. And she wakes up in the middle of a field in her robe. She's just got a phone in her pocket, and she's in the middle of this place with this group of men who have all got weapons on this campus. She's got no idea what's going on. And then she throws up everywhere. She puts time travel. And then these 4 other men appear on horses, and she's got no idea what's going on. These men that are surrounding her start to attack her. So she starts kicking ass, basically, and ends up killing most of them.
Wow.
You then jump to these other
girl.
4 men.
That would not be me.
No.
That would be the end of Emma.
Yeah. That's a good name, the end of Emma.
not so keen on it myself, but
anyway, you jump into the head of one of these 4 men who's just appeared. So we have Sebastian, Luca, Finn, and Cade. They are these 4 men on horseback. We got 2 vampires, 2 werewolves. Because got to put a little bit in there. And they are working with the king. So we're in France. She doesn't know this yet. We're in France, and there's a plot to kill one of the Louis. And these 4 men are known to the king. They are known paranormals. They keep under the radar, but they are like mercenaries. They go out and kill for him. So they've turned up to kill this gang.
I'm getting like D'Artagnan and the 3 Musketeers in my head. But vampires and werewolves. Because they're the dogs, exactly.
Yeah, they're D'Artagnan, It's a very strange mix of things today.
Yes.
Where was I?
I threw you
that's
off.
fine. There's these 4 men who have come to attack this gang, and they're like, oh, well, she's done our job for us. Who is she? Why is she here? Where did she come from? What in God's name is she wearing? And they decided, okay, we need to take her with us and figure out, has the king sent her? Is she for us? Is she against us? And they take her back to the chateau and sort of start to question her a little bit. And I'm trying not to go into tons and tons of details because the 3 books are all, there's loads of stuff that goes on. And basically we've got, so Sebastian and Finn are vampires. Sebastian is kind of the grumpy in the 4. He's like the oldest, so he's kind of the impromptu leader. I can't remember if he created Finn or not, but he's kind of his sire. Even if he didn't create him, he's like the father figure to him.
Like the mentor,
Finn, Finn has had some of his own traumatic experiences in life. So he's an artist, but he's very not himself either. The werewolves are, as you would imagine werewolves to be, bouncy, jumpy, jolly, really quite cool. Really big puppies. And so they all kind of work around trying to figure what she's doing, why she's there. And as you would imagine, they all kind of start to pick up on things. She smells like this, she must be this, and she is kind of their fated mate sort of thing, especially for the wolves. The wolves are in it straight on, happy with it. And as you go through the book, there are some really, really funny moments. So she's got this phone, so she shows them how to use it, and she's got data on it, so she can play the music, and all sorts of things happen. But as she gets closer to them and everybody starts to open up, some of these other guards turn up at the house and she gets killed. So this is it. And then she starts to fade and they're like, okay, what the hell? What's going on? And she ends up back having fallen out of the mirror, the other end. And she's like, Jesus Christ, I have to go back. But she doesn't know how it works. She doesn't know what's going on. So she's sort of rumbling around trying to figure stuff out. And she goes downstairs and she's got a parcel delivered from her aunt. And, this is working on the fact that her aunt's been dead for a bit. Yeah. So she's like, okay, where's this come from? Her aunt did it all through this sort of very, I'd say sketchy, because they don't tell her a huge amount, legal firm. Yeah. But if you wanted a decent legal firm that will keep all your secrets and stuff, then it's pretty good. But they're like, oh, she said to give you this if this were to happen, and to give you this if this were to happen. So she's like, okay, the only thing I can assume is that my aunt knows about this mirror. So she kind of goes through the motions of getting herself back. As you go through the second book and she finally gets herself back, this is where the second book is quite dark. She gets herself back and she becomes super involved with all of them. She can't not be near them. She's pulled and drawn to them. And it's not helping with her trauma. It's not helping with any of them. And then once you go through the book, you realize that as she was dying in the first book, Finn was there and he's like, you'll come back to us. You have to. And then you realize that the vampires have compulsion.
Right.
And that
I see.
That's the last thing she heard before she died in France in the 1600s.
Oh, no.
So she's being pulled back. And then the next time she's pulled back, it's the 1700s. So the men exist and they still keep living and they search for her. And obviously they can't find her. She's not going to be born for a few hundred years.
Yeah.
So they get worse and worse as time goes on. Sebastian, being the biggest one, sort of shuts himself down even more and tries to help Finn deal with an extra trauma on top because he'd finally opened himself up to love this woman. And then she's gone. The wolves are hankering for a mate that they can't find or sense anywhere. So the first time she comes back again, they're all on her and she's on them. But the inevitable happens, you know, as you said, in times like this.
Yeah.
You know, women can't be out by themselves. You know, there's wars, there's strife, there's everything. She ends up dying again.
Oh, God.
But because of this compulsion Finn put on her, that's the only thing in her head. She has to keep coming back. And then it's just a detriment to her health, to her well-being. She stops eating. Her main focus is to get back to them because that is all that takes over her mind. So the next time she comes back, Sebastian finds her, locks her in a room because he's like, I would rather kill you. Yeah, I'd rather kill you myself than have it keep going back and back and back. That my brothers, because the third time she comes back, the wolves have left the vampires because they can't be in that situation. Finn is just a pool of unpleasantness.
Oh, dear.
But when she comes back and they're near enough, they can sense her as well. And it just gets so dark and it takes them quite a while to realise that Finn compelled her to come back.
I see.
And then when he removes that compulsion, she then has to decide to stay away because she can't keep going back because it's not doing her any good. It's not doing them any good. But obviously, we keep saying obviously. It's not obvious, is it?
Not obviously.
No, they don't die. They keep living. So they come to her in the end. And this is it. But every time she comes back, there's a new gift from her aunt with a little clue or a little snippet of something that helps her along. And then you start getting stuff about her ex-husband. And she's like, okay, you need to watch a video. There's a video somewhere. I think it's something like that. And figure out that her ex-husband was near her sister's car, which is where they all were when mum, dad and sister died.
Oh, wow.
And then then you knew that the ex-husband was doing something because there's money involved. And yeah, it's fantastic. But you need some breaks away in the middle to kind of get to the end. It all works out, but Jesus, it's a bumpy journey to get there. But yeah, it was fantastically done.
That's really interesting, actually, because I was like the way it's tied in, sort of the age gap thing, the long lives, with the time travel. Because the ones I picked are they don't really have any other little bit of like magical stuff, but not much. They're pretty much like the time travel is the only kind of element that's fantastical in it.
I've got creatures galore.
And I'd been thinking, like, time travel feels like it's like the emo sibling of age gap in some way, because it's like it deals with all that mortality stuff.
Yes, the angst of it.
But all that angst. It's very angsty, isn't it? And like, I think when you've got the time travel, like I was saying before, there's kind of this element of sacrifice, but the age gap stuff, like when you've got the possibility of immortality, kind of is in balance to that. Like,
yes,
it's kind of a reassurance. It's like, even if they're very old and they've lost people along the way, there's this promise that, oh, this person they find might be, that's it. They can be happy
the next bit,
forever
the
and
next
ever.
lease of life.
Yeah. Whereas with time travel, it's very much like, well, you're going to have to pick, what
one
you
or the
want to
other.
do. But not with this one. This one's like,
No, this one
bypass that. I mean, you're going to have the
really does.
angst by the
Yeah,
sounds of it.
you've got to have the
Don't get
trauma to
away with
start
it.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, this is it. There is sacrifice, even though they can
Yeah.
kind of live forever.
Mhm.
They went through a hell of a journey. But that's it.
Yeah.
Imagine kind of having to sit and pine for somebody for 200 years.
I know. Yeah. I think that happened a little bit in A Discovery of Witches. It's been a long time since I've read that, but there was
I've seen it on Netflix.
definitely a period where there's like, they know that there's going to be somebody else coming along because they've gone back in time and they've met them, and then they come forward. I don't think it's the main couple. I think it's somebody else. But in counter to that, my next one is very minimal angst.
Oh,
Very,
okay.
yeah.
We like that.
Yeah, there's a flavour for
Balance.
everybody. So let me just check my scribbled notes. This is Just What I Need by, I think it's Just What I Need or Just What I Needed. Just What I Need, I think, by Kristen S. Blacketeer. And this one is a time travel where someone goes forward into the future. Not as much. So the series, there is a series linked to this, and this is like the most recent one, but I think only 2 of them have a time travel element, and I think 2 in the middle are based in that time period. It's like a nostalgia for the 80s kind of series.
Hey, I'm here for that.
So in the very first one, there's the heroine who goes back in time to the 80s, and she meets someone who was her dad's boss, basically, and they get a relationship, and yeah. So I guess that would have fit into age gap if I'd read
Yeah, I was
that
going to say
one.
age gap would have worked.
Yeah, that's it. And then I think there's a couple with characters that are around in that time, and then this latest one is basically, it's Cyril, bless him, what a name. Cyril. He's not an old man. It's an old man name, isn't it?
It
Cyril.
would be nostalgic. It reminds me of the dude out of the raccoons.
Oh, I don't remember enough about the raccoons.
Oh, Cyril Sneer, the big purple thing with the nose.
Yeah.
Oh, he was fantastic.
Basically remember tiny, maybe it was in reference to that, if the author ever listens and that was a little nod to one of her favorite cartoons, that would be so cool.
Was so cool. I love that show. Bert Raccoon was wicked.
That's assuming that she was around.
Yeah, you
and
never know.
Our kind of age might be a lot younger than us.
She's 24 and she's just feeling nostalgic.
Yeah,
her mom was born in the 80s.
It's retro and it's cool in the 80s. Yeah. So he was the driver for the hero in the first book. So he's been his chauffeur, So he's been around and involved in everything. And the thing is that they know about what happened to, I think it was Kate. I want to say Kate was the heroine that went back in time. So they, within their group of friends, they know that happened to her, and she was never able to go back. It happened like at the Empire State Building on New Year's Eve, and it's like a time slip, and boom, she went back. And so, and then she made her peace with it. She made her life with, the man she loved. And so at the beginning of this one, Cyril's gone back to pick up something. I think it's Christmas time. He's gone back to pick up something that she'd left at the Empire State Building, which is where the offices are for their business. And he's feeling a little bit despondent. He's seeing all his friends settle down, get married. He's got ambitions to like maybe run a garage. He lives over the top of a garage. He wants to, save up, start a business. His boss, who's also his friend, has like said, oh, I'll invest in it, but they've not got round to doing that yet. He's not really settled down in relationships or anything. And then he goes up and he slips forwards in time.
Oh, God.
And he wakes up like 35 years later. And so he, New York looks very different.
Indeed. Yeah.
People look very different. What are they all doing with these strange phones in their
these
hands?
boxes
These
they're
little
looking at.
boxes.
Gosh.
And he goes back to where he lives, basically, because what else is he supposed to do, kind of thing. And he finds that the garage is now called Cyril's Garage.
Oh.
And he goes inside, and there's a young woman working there. And he talks to her, and she's a bit grumpy, but he's trying to figure out, well, why is it called this now, and where are we? And he doesn't know what to do. He's just plonked in the middle of the future. And it turns out she's the daughter of his friend. So she's about 32 and he's about 39, I think it is. But he never met her. There was no crossover of him knowing her before. She was born after he left, basically. He looks a little bit familiar to her. But she takes him to get something to eat. He says he knows her dad once he's figured that bit out, kind of thing. And then they go to see Arthur and Kate. And they kind of work out, well, because it's always been an open kind of secret. I mean, all the kids have always thought, oh, Mum's just telling this story like a metaphor. Like, oh, it was the special time when we met, and and it's like, no, it actually happened, and now he's here in the future. And she's a very independent girl. Jessica is her name, and she's been running. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? I just realized that I've had one Emma and one Jessica. What's going on? It all feels very strange today.
If the third one is Gemma, you have got the hat trick.
Yeah. So where was I?
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I did it to you.
Yeah.
You do it to me. I'll try and figure it out. Yeah, so she's been running this garage, and she's very passionate about it, about cars, and they've got a driving service too. And her dad is on at her to get a partner, and she doesn't want to expand the business. He wants her to kind of really have it being successful, because he's getting on in his years. They're like in their 70s now. And he just wants her to be settled down and safe. She's divorced. She's, not interested in having baggage with new people. But basically they move Cyril in with her. They're like, you can help him. He can help you in the garage, kind of thing. And they do help each other.
Yeah, they help each other out.
Yeah. And so really, like, in terms of the time travel element, there's not as much angst in terms of what's happened. He kind of quickly comes to terms with that, because it was already something they understood that was possible. And he accepts that this is going to be it. He's not going to try and get back to his time, but he's having to adjust to all this new stuff, and the loss of all the years, he didn't get to see with his friends, them growing up and having their families. And that's a bit sad for him. But he's also like quite an optimistic character, and he loved sci-fi. So he's actually like, he finds everything really cool. Like when he sees her TV in the room, and she's like, showing him new films that have come out, and it's awesome. She shows him the internet, and he loses like an entire night, and he's like, yeah, you should have warned me. She was like, we all had to learn the hard way.
I wish somebody had warned me. Yeah.
This is it.
Even now.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's kind of more, the angst is focused about their relationship, and whether or not what he's going to do, how much he's going to impose on her life, whether she's going to let him in, kind of thing. So both my first two are a bit more like, there's time travel, and it traveled them across genre into my other catnip genres. It's like historical one, and just like a really cool contemporary one as well.
This is it. I was going to say, you struggled with it, but you seem to have come up quite well.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah.
So here's the thing. Do you think it would be more traumatic going back to the 80s or coming into now?
That's so funny. That is literally a question I wrote down to
ask
you. Yeah. Would it be going back in time would be worse, or going forwards in time? And I think it would be harder to go back in because of like the differences of what we're used to. I mean, think about how aggravated we get when the Wi-Fi goes down, and we ain't even had that for very long.
Well, this is it.
We
Yeah.
get so reliant on our technology now. It seems to be that's like the thing. In my other one, she misses stuff when she goes back in time, but she also starts to see some of the benefits. Like she feels a bit healthier, and
Yeah.
like it's finding different ways to entertain herself. And
So this is it.
yeah,
With my age now, going back to a simpler time, because I
yeah,
remember being in the 80s that nothing would be open on a Sunday for more than a few hours.
yeah.
And, having to sit and watch TV as a family because there was one TV with 4
That's it.
channels.
Yeah.
And yet being a bit simpler, but as a 16-year-old coming to now, I would have loved it.
Oh my God. Yeah. It would have been
So,
awesome, wouldn't it?
yeah. But as you said, I would get, because we live in a little place. So again, it kind of does sometimes feel like jumping back in time where you want to go out and get something from the shop on a Sunday.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 o'clock and it's like, Jesus,
Yeah.
everything's already shutting up and the shelves are
Our
already empty.
town's
And
like that as well.
Yeah.
It's like Sunday is not a day. And like
This
you
is
can
it.
go down and things are just shut because we've got quite an old population where I live as well.
Yeah.
Everyone's out in the morning. Things are shut by mid-afternoon
Yeah.
because there's
Nobody
no
wants to
one's
do
coming
anything.
in. It's not worth being open. So
Yeah, this
it's
is it.
like, yeah, it would be strange. Definitely. I think the future, if you like coming to now, we know what there is now, but like going further into the future would be a bit scary because I guess you kind of ear into like dystopia then, because like what the hell would have happened to us by then?
Well, you see, I'm just a child. My brain's going triple-breasted women because of the busting.
It could happen. It
This
could.
is it. Just the pain.
I don't know
that.
why. I don't know why.
But yeah, where would the
okay.
third one come from? How would you make a bra fit?
I mean,
That's in the year 3000.
where it would have come from. Men would have genetically
Men just would have
engineered it.
genetically modified a woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fix something better. Make my Wi-Fi work for 4 phones.
That's crazy, isn't it?
For anybody who's not in the UK, that's a Busted song, and I did see Busted, and that's called The Year 3000. Go and listen; they're better than the Jonas Brothers. Just leaving it there.
Yeah. That's
anyway, okay. So my
Queen
second book,
yeah,
she's just rolling. My second book I picked basically because of the title, and I know you shouldn't judge and pick things because of that, but I don't care. It's called Leviathan, and it's by Sky Perlington. Okay. And I picked it because there is a song by a Danish band called Volbeat that I like that is called Leviathan about the big sea monster. And I always stopped and thought, I really would like to write like a little short about a big sea monster that comes out. So this is why I picked this book. That's it. So
the author's name's pretty cool too.
Yeah, Sky Perlington. That's epic.
That's awesome.
And I also liked it because we have Destiny, who is the woman in this book, and she has no idea who she is. She lives in this massive, epic mansion. No idea how she got it. No idea how she got there. Doesn't know who she is, where she is, when she is, why she is.
A little bit like your Four Psychos one.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And she's there. And she didn't even have a name. She picked her own name because it felt right, that Destiny was the thing that she was there for.
Okay.
And we come to this house, and a woman, well, there's 2 women in the end, and a third one comes quite quickly afterwards, who turns upon the door and says, I'm here to reply to the ad you put in the paper about roommates. And she's like, I didn't put an ad in the paper. She goes, yeah, you did, it's roommates. And she's like, okay, well, with everything else that I don't know, probably could be. So this woman comes in, and there's another one that comes in after her, and then a third one joins her, and she's got these feelings, and when something happens, it's like a key has been turned and something unlocks and something opens for her, which I love. The fact that you're not having to trawl through loads of stuff. It is just the fact that, oh, I know you, because I think you maybe do. And then, so I can't remember all these women. I didn't write all of the women down because that would have taken me forever. And this is like a second series. So the time travel that happens is kind of explained a lot more in the first books, I think. So this one is a kind of thing of this woman comes in and goes, yeah, we're half dragons. And she's like, oh,
okay, cool.
That kind of makes sense with everything that goes on. And then the other woman comes in and goes, yeah, we've got kind of different energy levels that kind of affect us in different ways. And kind of it all links around you. You're this thing. And she's like, oh, kind of am, aren't I? And she's got this massive, yeah, this is it. I love it.
Yeah.
And she's like, actually, kind of am.
All right then, yeah.
And there's this fireplace, and there's this, the weather's turning, everything's changing because all these people are coming together. And this fire kind of starts up, and she realizes she's not burned. This fire is there, and she doesn't get burned by it. And there's something in the ashes of the fire, and it's this massive knife. What more do you need? And then she gets pulled back in time. She picks this knife up and gets dragged back in time into this cave. And she's like, oh, okay. So I have to sort of see what's going on. It doesn't feel bad. It feels that it makes sense. It's right. So I'm going with it. She's never known anything before this. That's the thing. So when it is making sense and working for her, she's actually kind of just embracing it and going with it.
Do you know what that's kind of making me think of when we were having our discussions before we started the podcast about how like time is a different perception for different people, and how kids have no real perception of time because they just live in the present. That feels like it's kind of like that. They just kind of oh, this is what's happening now. I'm suddenly here.
Let's just go with it. It's like you can have. Did you read them books when you were a kid? It's like you pick A or B and you go down that path. It's like that. Oh, it's either go back or go forward. I'm picking A. I'm going forward. And we're actually in like Nordic times. We are in what will be called Norway in like 900 and something AD. And we have Leviathan. He is an ancient half dragon, and he's been around a long time, and he's there helping train up some of the slightly younger dragons because there is a war coming. There's a lot of gods and thoughts and feelings on Norse side of things. So I think Ragnarok is the Norse side of things. It doesn't mention that specifically early. So yeah, that's kind of where my brain went because Loki.
We need to have a chat about Loki as well.
Really do.
I'm rewatching the first season because as we're recording this, it comes out today, doesn't it?
Is it today?
Second season starts today.
I'm off, so I'll have to.
I've got to rewatch the first, so I know where I'm at. But we watched the first 2 episodes last night, and it was really good. It was like, as I remember enjoying it, but it's like rewatching it is like because you kind of know what's going on a little bit more now.
You can understand it a bit more.
Yeah. So I'm just enjoying it. Yeah.
See, I just wait for Croaky because that crocodile with the horns was just
awesome.
I tried to get a Funko of him and I couldn't. Love no money. It killed me.
I have President.
Yes, you have
Loki
that one.
from this awesome person that bought it for me.
Travel back in time, buy more.
Yeah.
So we have Leviathan. He's waiting for this great war, and he knows who this person is. He feels her presence coming in. He knows who Destiny is. And he's he doesn't want her here because of things that have happened in the past. And he's like, oh, Jesus. But they've got to go to her because there's massive disturbance. Same sort of thing, both ends. There's this waves and stuff coming across the ocean. This war is obviously imminent with this woman appearing. They go to her and they turn up, Leviathan and his 2 little dudes. And they get there and she's in heat when she appears. And it's like, oh, crap. And he's old, so he can kind of control himself a little bit. These 2 dudes can't, so he has to ship them off. Gives her this cloak. And she's kind of got this thing in her head when she sees him. She's kind of like, I know you, don't I? And he's like, oh, we've got to, no, it's tricky, it's difficult, we've got to sort it. And she's like, why do I have a feeling you're here to kill me?
Oh no.
And this is the thing. And then they've got this really snarky relationship between each other. So not everything is coming to her quickly. There's sort of triggers that kind of make her go, yeah. And it kind of goes back a bit. And they've met before. So she's been obviously in another time. So when we started,
Yeah.
she's present day. Then she goes back to 900, but her and Leviathan were obviously together before, where they travelled back in
Okay.
time to this time.
Mm-hmm.
And something's obviously happened, that she's done something to take her memories away. And they get triggered as the two of them are together a bit longer.
Right.
And he mentioned something about knowing this person. And she's like, you knew my parents as well, didn't you? And he's like, yeah, I did a little bit. And she's like, oh, somebody mentioned something when they go back to the village about being the child of a god. Because a few of them have got one father, two mothers, and a bit of a mixed match. And then that clicks something in her. And she's like, I am too, aren't I? And it kind of, as you go through it all, you kind of realize the relationship was there to start with, and something happened, so she had to get herself away, and now she's come back to try and figure out what's going on with this war. And it's just, yeah, I'm not going to say too much more, because
it's obviously very much like a drip feed of information,
all of the bits as you go. It kind of, it's not, it is kind of threaded through, but in the way it's like, it's here. So it's a big punch of it, and it's just, I like that. It was really good.
It was thinking about that made me, I had a couple of books. There was one that I thought about talking about, because it's like a really old classic, but I didn't know if it counted for time travel, because it's more like a reincarnation thing, but it's a very similar premise, really, isn't it? It's like, it's not dual timeline, because dual timeline tends to be when you have two separate characters that are linked across time. But the reincarnation is very much like someone goes back. So it's like Lady of Hay is like this really classic, I think it's 80s or 90s book, and like someone lent it to me and I read it, and it was like she was being regressed and going back in time to like the time of King John and stuff like that, and it was all involved with that. I didn't do it because I was like, it's reincarnation, and actually I haven't read it for a very long time, and I'm not sure how I would feel about it now. And there's another one that the Leviathan's kind of reminding me of, which is a fantasy one I read, and it was, I can't remember the name of it. I'm going to have to find the name and put it, because I really enjoyed it. But it was like based in Viking times, and there was kind of this love triangle, but it was all connected to Ragnarok. So they were all like particular people involved in like the Ragnarok cycle. And I know that the next book, which I've been meaning to read for forever, goes forward, and it's like those characters are reincarnated again and again. And that was really cool. Really, I'm going to write it down so that I don't forget.
Yeah, write that down, will you?
Yeah. It was Lackland something was the author's name. I'll have it on my old Goodreads somewhere.
It'll be somewhere.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like reincarnation's very similar, isn't it? It's got that soulmate vibe and that repeating
the same person
thing.
coming back to the future.
Yes, Back to the Future. And that kind of links into my final one. Again, is a book that I read quite a long time ago now, and it is The Time Traveler's Wife, which is very famous. Audrey Niffenegger, I think that's how you say her name. I am not sure.
I hope it is. If it's not, please tell me another pronunciation, because I love it.
Niffenegger. Yeah, that's got to be it.
That's good.
And obviously people are familiar with this book, and actually it's quite a controversial book now. I don't think it was so much at the time that it came out.
I've never read it or watched it.
It was so you have, if anybody isn't familiar with it like yourself and hasn't watched anything, I think I watched the film when they did it with like Eric Bana, which was all right. It wasn't too bad. Adaptations are always a difficult thing. But they've just recently done a series with Theo James, which is like a more compelling reason to watch it, in my opinion. But I think they've cancelled it. They've only done the first season and they've cancelled it. So I haven't watched that, but I might have to, just to remind me. So Henry he's got a condition which makes him leap through time. And
Physical condition.
A physical, this is why it's quite different. And I think it it's almost like a neurological disorder or something like that. Like, he goes to physicians and stuff that he can manage to be honest about it with, because obviously it's quite tricky, that are like, trying to brain scan him and find out what's going on. But he's been able to do this since he was very small. And I think I have not read this for many years, but I think the first time that it happened was when there was a car crash that killed his mother, and he was in the car and he jolted out of
Shunted
time.
out.
So he didn't die, basically. And what happens with it is that he tends to leap around his own timeline. Generally, he tends to go back in time, but he does sometimes go forward in time too. And he arrives and he's got nothing. So he's naked a lot of the time, which causes just an immediate practical issue, and he doesn't feel well after he's done it. It's kind of like the aftermath of a migraine, you're sick, and like your character as well in your first one. But what's also happened is that the woman he is going to marry and end up with, he starts to leap around her timeline too, because if it's involved in his life, but he knows her. So Claire first meets him when she's a child and he's an adult, because he's been sent back in time to when she's tiny, to like her house. She's quite rich. They've got a big house, they've got a lot of land around it, and I think there's like a particular spot, there's a clearing. So, and he, like, if there's somewhere he goes to quite regularly, he'll have like a little stash of stuff to help him out. But what people find quite controversial about it now, when they're looking at it with a more modern outlook, is the fact that he knew her when she was young. So how much of it was like grooming?
But that's not the word I wanted to use, but it was in my head.
I'm sorry, but I think it's quite important to put that out there for people if they're interested in it, because it's a really, really interesting concept, and it's quite different to a lot of time travel that I've read. And I remember very much enjoying the book, and not that I don't recall it being that. I remember him being very careful about not saying things too much to her, in case he influenced how she was growing up. Like, he knew what kind of coffee she likes as an adult, but mention it to her when she was younger. Is that why she likes that kind of coffee now? Because it's very like cyclical, how much of it is because of him being back there, but he wouldn't have been back there if he hadn't met her when she was older.
This is it.
So there's kind of a point where they meet in the same time, and she knows him, but he doesn't know her. So he meets her as an adult before he started traveling back to her timeline, if that makes sense.
Well, this is it. Not that, as you said, what do you say to make it, not that I'm condoning anything, but
no.
I met my husband as an adult, and there were times that with the kids, I see them and I think, Jesus, I wonder if the other half was like that as a kid. Was he that rowdy or quite quiet, or how does that come from them, or does that come from me, or that kind of thing? So I could kind of see it from that point of view, and easily, but
because her parents still live in this house, so when he's introduced to her parents, that becomes a setting that he's familiar with. And then that's why he starts to travel back there when he's got no control of it. So it's not like he's deciding to go back to when she was a child. And like, as she gets to being a teenager, she's the one that starts to develop feelings with him. And he's like, oh, this is really awkward, because you're starting to look like my Claire now, but you're still young. And, it's tricky, but I'd have to reread it to know whether or not how I would feel about it comfort wise. So it's something to be aware of.
Yes.
But it's also really interesting in the way it plays with time and what's like fated. It's because they're kind of like fated mates in that way, but they would have never have called it that.
No.
This was very firmly.
You won't sell your book if you call a contemporary fated mates, people. Come on.
No, that's it. I mean, probably, even though it's got like a scientific bent into how it's trying to explain his condition, it feels like magical realism almost, because it's just like, this is happening, and we don't know how, kind of thing. And it's quite an angsty story as well. And the biggest warning I would give people is that in terms of romance, it's very much focused on their romantic relationship and their whole life together. That's what it's about. But that is their whole life. So you get the whole run of it from beginning to end. To end. So you kind of would class it more as a love story. And it's very on the fence for me, because it's like it's romantic still, and their love is always there. But you're going to have to accept that it's not forever, unlike age gap romances with vampires.
Just go on and on and on.
Well, this is it. We know that people can't live forever, but
no. Oh, you'd be bored if you did. We had that discussion, didn't we?
Yeah.
But can we just say, whoever in the future of our lives did this and put it that the TVA and Loki were on the day that we are recording the time travel?
Strange.
Can you please go back and tell past Jessica to leave 10 minutes earlier this morning?
Yes, that would be really helpful.
Not nearly late for it. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, when you were talking about like her in your other book, your first one, your series, when she was getting the things delivered all the time, from her aunt, and I was wondering, is it the aunt or is it like secretly her and she's doing it? Because it was making me think Bill and Ted, when they're going through and they're like, but if I think about it now to remind myself to do that thing, then it will be here. It's like, but you've got to remember to do that thing when you go round.
Well, this is it. And your dude planting his clothes, you've got to remember to go and put yourself some pants on.
That's it. Exactly.
It's got to be done.
It's just more to think about, though, isn't it?
God,
blimey.
It's like, I'm going to go totally astray. It's like, you've seen Shawshank Redemption, yeah?
Yeah.
And the dude says, you've got to go to this village, go to this tree in the middle of the field and go under this rock and find this box. It's like, seriously, A, how are you going to remember to do that? B, who's to say that box hasn't been picked up by a random child at some point?
Yeah.
There's so many issues with that, mate.
Dug up by a honey badger or something.
Yeah, something. Eaten the postcard that's in there. Come on, Andy. All right. My last book is, got to get this right, or I can't even remember how you pronounced it. The Longing of the Lone Wolf by Lena Pasurchek.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I've read this one. Yeah.
Yes, you've done this, so you can help it. Again, it's been a while since I've read it. Pasurchek, is that what we were going with? Pasurchek?
I think I said.
I can't remember. I did listen to it Google yesterday.
Yeah, I think you're closer. I don't think that's how I pronounced it last week, but when I was looking it up to put the notes, and I looked and I was like, that sounds more like how it was written on her website. Yeah.
I did a Google Translate. Pasurchek.
Oh,
that's
nice.
Please correct us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to think what happened. So we have Clark. We have Clark, who is from Vegas originally, and it's not the Vegas that we know and love as the den of depravity. It's kind of more a dystopian den of depravity.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in a flat with her two roommates, and something is going on. They're watching TV and the end of the world. There's some sort of apocalypse going on.
Mm-hmm.
But we start with the book with her waking up in like this lake, and she's got no idea how she got there, what's going on. The last thing she remembers is two roommates watching the end of the world on the TV. And she's, again, same as yours, she's no idea what to do, what to think, anything that's going on around her. But she hears something coming in the distance and it's howling. It sounds not great. So she knows she has to get up and get moving. And she sees a cabin over in the distance. It's not over there. I'm just pointing. Don't look where I'm pointing. She sees a cabin over in the distance. She's like, okay, I'm going to have to get up, get myself over there and figure out what the hell to do, what's going on. She's had some dealings in her past. I think she's got some powers, and she's had some dealings with a very unpleasant man. And that's going around her head as well. Can't remember what his name is, though.
I don't remember either,
no. So she knows she's got to get herself up and moving, trying to get herself over there. In the cabin happens to be a chap called Rush, who was something called a guardian. And he is no longer guardian because he did something very unpleasant. Not unpleasant to the world they live in.
Yeah,
he
against
got
the
somebody,
rules, wasn't it?
Yeah, he got somebody pregnant, and you're not allowed to copulate unless it is allowed by the powers that be. And unfortunately, the child was removed. The woman, the child's mother, it's not his partner or anything, just a bit of a fling. She's killed for it. So he is exiled, and he is made invisible because, it's just the worst possible thing that they can think to do to him.
Yeah.
So he's basically living out his time in this cabin with a few actual wolves, not shifters of any sort. And he's taken up. So the job of the guardians is to hunt and kill feral humans who live within this world that has become what it is. And so he's still going out and doing that for just because what else can he do? Nobody can see him. Nobody can talk to him. He's just some semblance. And he sees this woman out the window because that's his cabin, and he hears the wolves coming, and he can scent them because they are actually part of his family. The chap who runs the location he was kicked out of is his uncle Thaddeus, and he can scent Thaddeus and his men coming for this woman. So he's kind of torn between, what do I do? Do I go and help her? Do I figure it out? He's like, you know what? I got to go save her. Because, I'm not a monster, even though I've kind of been painted that way. He goes out to save her, doesn't realize till he gets close that she's actually a human. He thinks she's other, same as lots of others aren't within this place. Thaddeus and his dudes come out. She looks up at Rush and he's like, dude, you've got to help me. People are coming. And he's like, Jesus Christ, you can see me.
Yeah.
And then that's it. That is the whole thing that starts from there. Nobody has ever been able to sense him since he was exiled, or let alone see him there. So, that's kind of how the ball starts rolling. He protects her. He attacks these wolves. His uncle gets away, unfortunately for everybody, as the story progresses. And basically, he likes her, but he doesn't, because she's human. It's been put into his head for years that these are like the scourge of their world. They destroyed everything. They need to be removed. So he's kind of got it in his head. If he can take her back to the village, then maybe they will remove his exile.
Yeah.
And he can go back to living his normal life. He can go back to being a guardian. He travels back and forth to this village, and he realizes the baby that this woman had is his son, obviously. He has then since become a guardian as well. And it's an epically rigorous trial to become a guardian. You've got to, I think they sort of, I don't know if they plunge you into water, something happens and you either sink or swim. And there's like a divine touch, they think it is, that if you come back up, you are strong enough and powerful enough to be a guardian. And he did, and his son did. So he kind of wants to get back to where he was with his former glory. But the more he travels with Clark, the more he realizes that maybe all the spiel that he's been sold all these years, I can't remember what the group is called, but there's like a big group who've kind of told everybody that the humans are evil, and everybody's started to believe it. And he's kind of like, actually, I don't think this is right. So, the closer they get to this village, by the time they get there, he's kind of pretty much aware that what was said isn't true. And then he's got to try and sit and figure out what he can do as to whether he should hand her over, or he should try and actually help this woman figure out what is going on with this power that be and why they're doing this. But her job is, she wants to kind of go and tell these people that this dude she knew in her time is a problem. So she's like, he is the link somehow in all of this. We have got to figure out that, try and work it out and stop all of this.
Mm.
And yeah, so they've both got their own little journeys they're both trying to work
Yeah.
on, but the more they travel together, the closer they're getting. It's a lovely little jaunty journey one.
Yeah. She's got, it's like, does she see the future or something like that? I think
she kind of can sense stuff. They gamble, don't they? That's why she's in
Yeah.
Vegas, so she can kind of sense that
Yeah.
side of thing. And so
like, she's involved in like the apocalyptic event that's happened, and that's what she needs to
she
tell
told it's
them.
something like numbers. There are numbers that somebody
Yeah.
wants from her, so she gets them, but I don't think she tells them or
Mm.
something. I can't remember. Again, it's a long time since I've read it.
Yeah. Do you remember? I do remember the cool bit where she discovers that his furry ears are quite sensitive. He's got little elf-like ears. And it's quite nice when she strokes them. I think she gets like a little bit drunk on something. And she's like,
there's like things like you touch them and the stuff comes out. Oh no, when you kill something, isn't it? I think when something dies, it's like their essence comes out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And she ingests it because there's like a bog creature that. So yeah, she's just as bad as he is. So they're rummaging through the forest. He gets pulled into the bog, and she's like, you know what? I could just leave you there because you've been sucked under the water. So she's gonna go. And then she kind of has this big attack of, you know what, he's kind of taken me this far. He's kind of helped me out a bit. I can't see him go down with the bog monster. So I think she delves in and saves him.
There's a lot of really cool stuff about that. Like, I love all the different guardians. There's like vampires as well, and there's like little mini series within the whole thing, isn't it? I need to read more of it. And she does the artwork, the covers.
Does she?
Yeah. So I was following her on TikTok, and she illustrates, and they're brilliant, really good.
This must be. I saw somebody doing one as well. They've just done a watercolor of their own. And I'm like, oh my god, I struggled to get the book done, and you're like, cover.
No, that's it.
Oh my god,
so cool. All these, two talented people. Yes, exactly.
So clever.
Yeah, I need to read a lot more of that stuff.
So many of them, yes.
Yeah. So I guess that's it. That's a wrap for
now.
This season. We're going to go off and watch Loki too.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. I did want to do a little shout out to somebody. Just as a end of the season thing. Maybe this is something we can start to do for some of our listeners. Why not? But there's Laura from Tangents and Tissues blog. She reviews books, and I've known her for quite a while, but she listens quite regularly. I know she posted something really lovely, but I know she's having a little bit of a tricky time at the moment, so I wanted to give her a little shout out and say hi. Bless. And and if people want to go and find her blog, I would expect there might be a little bit of a gap on it at the moment, but she's got great reviews. They're lovely and fun, and she reviews lots of paranormal romance as well as like Mills and Boone and stuff like that. So yeah.
But there you go. You've got a backlist to go and get yourself read up on.
That's
before
it.
the
While we're not around, there are all these other awesome people. Exactly.
Well, this is it. Don't just sit and do nothing. Go find the other ones.
There's plenty of books to read.
So many.
Yeah, well, we'll give you all our social media links, which will go dead after we've stopped having a season out. Well, sorry.
there will be, but there will be other things to come. Remember, the Mythic Alley is out there. We have a book coming on Halloween, A Blend of Magic. Go pre-order now.
That's it.
Sell. Emma has a book coming out. Go and read it.
Mine's out already when this comes out. So there's that. Jess will have a book soon. Which
New Year time maybe. So that will be something. Yeah, there'll be so many things. So
we should be back for like a Christmas special too.
Yay! Oh, I'll get my festive ears out.
New Year or pre-Christmas or when it happens.
We'll be here in your ears.
That's it. Yeah. So come and find us, SFF Romcast, on the X Twitter, TikTok.
You say it like that, it's like a bad boyfriend. Oh, the X Twitter.
It kind of feels that way now. Everybody's moving to Blue Sky. I can't work it out. You have to have like someone has to give you the code. It's very like the Masons or something. You've got to be invited in. I haven't gone there yet.
I haven't even got a code.
I don't know. We do that at the same time, and it's like Instagram, and we're on all of the
All the socials.
The main podcast distributors and YouTube as well.
Yeah, come find us. We'll come say hi.
And that's it.
Eventually.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes. Be here for season 6.
That's it. Bye.
Bye.